So if you weren't aware, Nintendo put out a poll on Twitter last week talking about what would be the scariest enemy from any Nintendo game, and the answers were kind of lame. We have Ganondorf, Redeads, Ganon, Boo, Bowser, and Wallmasters. Now some of these, you know, are reasonable, as you can pretty much predict that there are going to be Redeads and Wallmasters on this list, but Ganon and Ganondorf, it's technically the same creature, and then a Boo? Is Boo really that scary? Bowser? And well, as you can tell, just like me, lots of people were very confused and upset by this list because it doesn't really represent any other franchise besides Mario and Zelda, as they both have lots of creepy enemies. I guess you could say there are still a lot more and a lot creepier enemies even from those franchises, and we don't even know for sure if Nintendo actually took in every audience member's consideration instead of just trying to promote these games. They could have been doing that. But today we are fully going over a list of 30 creepiest enemies from the Nintendo franchises. Now, quick to note, number one, there are no bosses on this list, or really any mini bosses, as those will be in its own special video coming in the future. And also, number two, I might be missing certain franchises because I haven't played the games fully, and I can't really talk about if there's any enemies in there. Like Fire Emblem, I don't know if there's even enemies, it just has bad people. And then you have Xenoblade. Once again, I can't really talk about enemies that much. I haven't really played those games at all. So we left those out. And obviously, Pokemon's not going to be on this list because they're Pokemon. There could be a separate list just for Pokemon later on. I also want to thank the channel members. Thank you so much for hanging in there. I know the last couple months I haven't been as active, but as we approach E3 month, it's going to get hectic, and there's going to be pretty much videos almost every day if Nintendo gives us a lot of stuff. So feel free to become a member. It's extremely cheap and easy, and you get tons of perks and emotes and all types of cool things. And feel free to like the video and subscribe if you guys enjoyed today's video. Seriously, it helps out so much. So feel free to sub if you enjoyed everything, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all things that go on for E3 and all the information coming up. And you can even join our official Nintendo Land Discord page where you can chat with me and other members about all things Nintendo, especially about all the things that are about to get announced from Nintendo. Coming in at number 30 as our first creature on this list is the Scarfy. Scarfy is a strange creature in the Kirby franchise, which just kind of floats around and minds its own business. Well, that is until you mess with it. If you hit it lightly or either try to suck it up like it's a regular enemy, it will get upset and completely change into this giant, one-eyed, creepy, teeth-filled monster, and it is actually kind of terrifying if it's your first time sucking this guy up, or at least trying to. He will immediately chase after you, trying to bite you ferociously, and if you don't get out of the way, he can definitely hurt, so I wouldn't try to mess with this guy. The Mario franchise has these giant underwater creatures, or eels really, called unagis, or mawrays, and anything deep in the ocean is always scary to me, so these things were definitely scary. And even in a recent game like Super Mario Odyssey, these things look even more detailed and creepy in the underwater depths, and unfortunately you can't really turn into these guys and cause havoc with them, but they just come out and try to eat you as your fish Mario the entire time. Once again, extremely scary. Number 28, we have Kobu Kokko from Donkey Kong Jungle Beat on the GameCube. Now, a lot of you guys probably never played this game and have no clue what I'm talking about, but one glance at this creature will instantly make you think either A, this is incredibly creepy, or B, are you sure this isn't a Pikmin game? Yes, this is actually a Donkey Kong game, and even though you play the game with bongos, that still doesn't exclude the fact that this game can have some bizarre creatures. This is a vine with the head of a chicken. It's almost like a piranha plant chicken, if you would, and it gets very angry if you awake it and tries to peck you ferociously, but your job is to jump on his head and completely beat the heck out of the top of his head in order to blow him up completely from his vine stalk. This is just weird. Number 27, we have the Broozers, which are like boxing ghosts within the Mario franchise. You don't know where they are on the map anywhere, and you'll just be walking, and out of nowhere you'll hear some bricks break, and boom, here come the Broozers out of some type of wall that you didn't think you could even break in the first place. These guys can be terrifying the first time you come across them, and they are relentless. They will continue to follow Mario until they fall off into a pit or something, because they don't give up. They will jump up on ledges, they will chase after Mario back and forth until you eventually stomp them to death, or once again they fall into a pit. They can be very annoying, but also kind of creepy the very first time you encounter them, and very unexpected. Now we're getting into kind of the more creepy enemies, and this time we go to the underwear. Yes, that's actually a world name in Super Paper Mario, not the actual underwear. But yeah, in this world, you're kind of like in the underworld. Yeah, this is kind of like the equivalent of hell in this game, which is weird for a Mario game, but all the enemies are pretty much very creepy down here, but especially the Underhands. And the Underhands are basically just long skeletal arms and hands that try to grab you when you go into the bottom of this purple swamp. drop. If you swim too low, the music gets really eerie, it gets really quiet, and then out of nowhere, these hands will come and grab Mario to pull him under even longer. This absolutely freaked me out as a kid as the very first time I saw this, and it's definitely something that feels like it comes straight out of Zelda. Coming in at number 25, we have the Lunge Fish from Yoshi's Island. Now, this fish made a couple of debuts in some recent Yoshi Island games, and it's still very ugly. It's more ugly, really, than scary, but it can be terrifying when you're first playing Yoshi's Island. I started playing when I was a little kid, and the first time I seen the eyes pop up, I got terrified. It jumped up and gobbled me and kills you in one swallow, and you have to go back to the checkpoint. This was actually very terrifying, and the entire level I was on the lookout for these fish as they can completely ruin your whole run of the level. So these things always gave me some type of anxiety when entering a level with them. Number 24, we have Krackle. What seems to be like a normal, everyday, creepy, ghost-haunted roller coaster ride within a creepy library. It's really not, because now you have a ghost skeletal pirate crocodile chasing you named Krackle. This is all kind of, straightforward. You try to drive away from this guy and dodge different obstacles, opening different gates, but it's very terrifying as this crocodile is chasing you and the music plays intensely in your ear. He keeps getting closer and closer, and your mind is set on what barrels to hit, but this thing just keeps following you, even though you know it's not going to touch you if you continue to hit the right cuts. It's still very scary. Continuing on with Donkey Kong Country, instead of the second game, we are going to the first one, the original, where we have the Rockkroc. These guys are terrifying. What your goal is to hit the stop and go barrels in order to make them dormant, and when they wake back up, they pace back and forth extremely fast, and they will knock you out. Your goal is to dodge them hitting the barrels in order to make them slumber so you can sneak past them, but when they awaken, they are a creepy threat, let me tell you. They are actually probably one of the scariest enemies in the Donkey Kong universe. Number 22, we have the T-Rex from Super Mario Odyssey. Now, I know this is probably everybody's favorite capture, or one of their favorite captures in the game, and it's at the end of the day just a big dinosaur. It's a T-Rex, that's really it. But there's certain situations and settings that make this guy very creepy, like the woods of the Wooded Kingdom. There's a very creepy area when you go down there where the dinosaur is sleeping, and if you walk past it a certain way, he will awaken and chase you ferociously down in a very dark, creepy, wooded area, and you have to pretty much just try to survive and have him bonk his head on a tree without getting eaten to death. Number 21, we have the Club Moblins. Now, what's interesting about these creatures from Ocarina of Time is that the artwork of them is a lot more terrifying, but then they look like this. Well, anyways, these guys are still very terrifying as they're like the biggest moblins in Zelda history. They are huge, and they have never been this big before, but they guard the maze in front of the Forest Temple, and you're gonna have to get past these guys, sneak past them without getting absolutely bonked by their giant clubs, hence the name Club Moblin. I don't know about you guys, and they are really not seen much at all anywhere else in the game, but when I saw them the first time, I actually jumped for a second, because I did not expect them to look like that, even after hearing the warnings from the signs and the other characters in the game. Number 20, we have the cutout soldiers from Paper Mario the Origami King. Towards the end of the game, you'll go into Bowser's castle that's been ransacked by origami creatures, and they are like little cutout creepy creatures, man. So first off, you have to fight these little tiny gingerbread men type of cutouts, and they're fine, very creepy. They kind of like circle around Mario and try to attack him from the outsides. That's fine and all, but then you have the creepy, zombie-fied looking ones. They're almost like Redeads in the Mario universe. They're extremely creepy, and it's like something out of a horror movie. Even the music kind of suggests so when you first find them. Coming in at number 19, we have the Romania Ranch aliens. Now, aliens are no suspect when it comes to Zelda games. They're always kind of hinted at and teased at, but never part of the mainline story. Well, that is until we get to Majora's Mask, where it's actually a side quest where you can help Romania save the ranch and all the cows from invading aliens. And lots of people think she's crazy, she's losing her mind, but you actually come to meet her up at night and find out that yes, in fact, aliens are invading, and it's a very creepy, eerie scene. The music's weird, you're in this giant field and aliens are all rushing the house, and it's even creepier if you don't save the ranch, because then they seem to abduct Romania and she's just completely out of it afterwards, and things are just completely different with her. She almost like can't even talk to you. It's a very creepy scene for sure, but these aliens, they just continue continue to creep me out. Number 18, we have the Reapers from Kid Icarus Uprising. Now these guys are already creepy from the very beginning. When you get in their line of sight, they will attack you with all their little Reaper kids. And it just gets even creepier in Kid Icarus Uprising. In this game, they're buffed as heck, and they can even shoot lasers at you. They have laser sight, so if you walk through the laser, they will zap you and come after you. It's terrifying, and there's a whole chapter dedicated to them where they're controlling hallways and walking down corridors, and you have to try to sneak past them. If you get into their line of sight, they will freak out, once again sending their babies after you, but chasing you frantically through the hallway with a giant scythe. It is absolutely terrifying the first time you come across these guys, and you're definitely going to want to stay out of their sight. Number 17, Clubberskulls. Continuing on with Kid Icarus, we have Clubberskulls. They are giant skulls that seem to be locked up in some type of prison until, that is, you break them free. As soon as you break them free or get close, they will break free, revealing a giant organy, vein-filled, intestine-looking organ that is covered by a giant skull, and it will chase you down non-stop until it completely defeats you, and it hits like a truck. A couple hits and you're dead, and it takes multiple hits to destroy this thing. I mean, you will be literally firing at it for multiple minutes, and it's just terrifying. You know this thing is going to hit hard, you know it's scary, and it's fast on top of all of it, and it's going to chase you down non-stop until you completely get out of that room. It is terrifying, and I remember my first time encountering one of these things, I died instantly because of just the pure shock of how fast that thing can travel towards you. Number 16, we have the Ing from Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. These things are terrifying, and they live in the Dark Ether, which is the dark realm of Light Ether. And they traverse the area down there, and they can pop up at any time. They start off as a gooey purple cloud and boom, appear as a creepy, dark, alien-looking species, and they will jump on you like the most terrifying spider you have ever seen in your life. Yeah, they are creepy for sure, and you have to fight these things throughout the entirety of the game, and in different forms as well. And they could be either flying sometimes, maybe small baby ones, or even big, huge boss ones, and they are just terrifying in general. I hate the Ing, I hate everything about that race. I do not like Echoes because of that stupid enemy. It used to freak me out as a kid, and I definitely still don't like it today. Number 15, we have the Shadow Messengers from The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. These guys are very similar to the Ing, as they are a creepy race of creatures that try to destroy you, and they just move about creepily. They're very ominous. They look like spider people and stuff, and they try to grab you. I don't like these guys whatsoever. The design of them and everything about how they look just terrifies me. They are creepy, and they look like little terrifying predators at the end of the day. So I think we can agree that almost every enemy in Twilight Princess could be on this list. But for number 14, I had to stick with the Poes. If you've seen the Poes in Twilight Princess, they are undoubtedly one of the scariest enemies within the game. They are like an actual apparition or ghost that tries to kill you. Yeah, it's like the real version of a Reaper. They're absolutely terrifying, and I cannot stand these things. The little ones aren't too bad. They're still very creepy with their design and everything, but the big ones are absolutely terrifying, and they actually look very realistic for a Zelda game. I just can't, this is just, it gives me creeps just thinking about it. Number 13, we have Paper Mario Color Splash on this list out of all games. And as you're defeating different types of Slurp Guys, yes, that's the name of Shy Guys with Straws in this game, I didn't make it, don't blame me, you'll find a certain Slurp Guy that's curled up in the corner. When you get closer, he starts unfolding a little bit and creepy music starts to play as he rushes towards you like it was out of some type of horror movie. And even during the entirety of the battle, horror music plays as you're battling this thing. This is just an absolutely creepy scene, but a creepy enemy as well. We have no explanation as to why he's bent like that and why he's acting like a creepy horror movie monster, but whatever he's doing, it definitely works because I was creeped out the first time I saw this. Number 12, we have the Mad Piano from Mario 64. Now, it's undoubt that your first time playing this game, you had no clue about this piano. Now, unless you were spoiled or told by somebody else or saw the memes on the internet, you would have no clue what this piano would do because there's no reason for it to do so. By now, you should know what Mario enemies will hurt you and what Mario enemies are in the game because they're clear. Turtles, Goombas, etc. Well, that is until you get to Big Boo's Haunt. And in Big Boo's Haunt, within the mansion, you might be on the mission where you have to collect the red coins. And of course, there's a red coin behind the piano. Now, every other red coin is actually kind of hard to get to, except for this one. Why is this one just sitting beside a piano? Well, you honestly don't think of anything about it until you reach to go get that red coin, and the piano comes to life with key teeth, and it tries to eat you alive. It doesn't move that fast, but it's just probably there for pure shock and, scare value, because the first time you see this, I promise you, you will jump. It's not what you expect, and it's loud the way it chomps and plays music as it's chomping. Yeah, it definitely is one of the scariest things I ever interacted with as a first-time Nintendo jump scare. Number 11, we have the Chozo ghost from Metroid Prime. Now, the Chozo are a race that actually helps Samus throughout her adventure, so you never really think that you would be fighting one. Well, besides fighting the statue in Super Metroid, this time you're actually fighting the ghost of the Chozo, and it's terrifying. Eerie music starts to play, and all you see is these little orbs fly into a room, and then they appear and disappear randomly throughout the room, and it's very hard to find them, not to mention fog appearing as well, which makes it even harder. And you have to fight these things, and they're very, very tough, and they can leave a punch, but the most terrifying thing is you just don't know where they are, and the way that they appear in the battlefield is definitely terrifying. Now we move on to our top 10, and starting off at number 10, we have the Purple Bombers from Luigi's Mansion. These guys absolutely scared the heck out of me when I was a kid. I think it also helps that this game came out when I was a kid, and everything about this game was creepy, but these ghosts in particular, because they were the definition of a jump scare. They were pretty much just jump scare ghosts, as you'd be walking down the hallways, and out of nowhere they jump out and yell out their crazy sounds. They are just terrifying, and in general, they just give me the spooks even today if I'm playing the game in the dark or something. Number 9, we have Redeads from The Legend of Zelda. Now, why are Redeads actually scary? Well, they're kind of mummified zombie creatures that go crazy when you get near them. Now, the thing that really scares me, I think, about Redeads is, in particular, like Wind Waker's Redeads that scream at you in order to freeze time. And when they freeze time, they'll slowly come walking towards you, which is creepy. Just to initially jump on top of you, legs and arms wrapped around you, as they seem to gnaw on your neck or whatever they're doing. It's terrifying. I hate it. Even that sound from Wind Waker still haunts me, and it still gives me goosebumps to this day. Coming in at number 8, we have Aazelion from Metroid Prime 3 Corruption. Later in the game, you'll fall down a corridor where you're seemingly just dropping down to a lower part of the level, when out of nowhere something grabs you and tries to completely swallow you whole with tentacles and teeth and multiple eyes. It scared the heck out of me the first time this happened. I was just casually jumping down a hole and didn't really expect anything to happen until this thing grabs you and you have to frantically shoot at it in order for it to drop you back down. It really just came out of nowhere, and once again, those jump scare enemies are the ones that really get the fear moving. Number 7, we have the Gatling Groink from Pikmin 2. Now, this one isn't as creepy as far as like horror goes, but it definitely is scary when you have a herd of baby Pikmin seemingly that you have to take care of. You're like this babysitter and you gotta guard these guys with your life, and then when you see this creature, it is terrifying what they could do to your whole army of Pikmin. They are like a fish leg windshield car thing. I don't even know what's happened. I guess it's some type of car fish mutation over the years, and it now can walk, rush towards you, is protected by a windshield, has exhaust pipes coming out of his head, and can fire giant explosive blasts that can completely wipe out your Pikmin. And not to mention, in some levels, it chases you and waddles after you, shooting these blasts. This is just terrifying, and every time I saw one, I immediately took a beeline to find an exit. Also, yes, for you other Pikmin fans out there, I know lots of you guys are screaming into the phone or the computer right now saying, where is Water Wraith? Once again, that is a boss, because trust me, Water Wraith would be on this list if I included bosses. Coming in at number 6, we have the Orn. Orns are these creepy giant floating ghost skulls that chase after you in Kid Icarus Uprising, and if they touch you, you are instantly dead. Now that's always terrifying when there's one-shot enemies on the playing field, but not when they chase you on the ground and in the air, and they also have creepy, terribly eerie music playing when they get near you. It's terrifying. You know they're coming when you hear the theme song playing, and they just chase after you. You can't kill them with anything unless you have special equipment and a special stage, but that's it. These things can be absolutely devastating to your runs, and they can just be scary because you know they're coming, you hear the sound, you hear them floating towards you. Ugh, they're just eerie. You probably would never believe if I told you in advance that Yoshi's Crafted World would have an appearance on this list, nevertheless, a top 5 appearance. Yes, the Bunmawashi Dolls from Yoshi's Crafted World are terrifying. I mean, literally the stage is called Be Afraid of the Dark. What in the world is Nintendo thinking with this game? This game is clearly aimed for children, but this level is terrifying. Halfway through the level, you don't see anything wrong with it. There's just some enemies on the stage, some enemies throwing things from the background like Lakitus, and that's really about it. Until the dolls come out. When the dolls come out and try to absolutely stab Yoshi with an axe, what? They chase after you relentlessly until you can get away somewhere, and literally these guys can ruin your entire level by just chasing you and hitting you over and over and over again, and by the end of the level, you'll have like 10, 11 of these things chasing after you as you make your final stretch for the goal. Why? Why do these dolls have axes? For a Yoshi game, it was probably one of the scariest things of modern day Nintendo games. Number 4, Lynels from Breath of the Wild. Now we know that Breath of the Wild 2 is actually going to be a lot more creepier, which probably means even more scary enemies, which I can't handle. I don't think my heart's going to be able to take that. But Lynels, let me tell you, the first time you laid eyes on a Lynel, I'm sure you were pretty creeped out because he heard you moving from a mile away. When they stopped moving and began looking around and being curious, that's when you started to get scared and your heart started to race. You didn't know how to handle these things at first, and when you first saw one, you didn't realize how actually big and terrifying they were. Because goodness gracious, I remember seeing a glimpse of it at E3 and then they cut it off and said you will have to explore on your own. And when I seen this thing, oh goodness gracious, it scared the living daylights out of me. And then when it finally does see you and starts sniping at you with its bow from across the field and then rushing you at full speeds of a horse, Nintendo really did not hold back on the designs of these things, so it really freaks me out with what they're going to come up with for the sequel. And I'm sure there's going to be a new version of Redeads. Number 3, we have the Guardians from Skyward Sword. Yes, we're about to have a lot of Zelda, get ready. So the Guardians from Skyward Sword are just silent, sleeping guardians and don't really bother you at all, well that is until you hit any type of water or light spot on the map, when all of a sudden, boom, they awaken and they chase after you as if you stole the last cookie from the cookie jar, and they are not playing. The music gets incredibly tense and they chase you anywhere. The flying ones, the ones on the ground sprint after you, and if they hit you once, you die and have to restart the trial from the beginning. It is scary as heck. I'm telling you, if you have never played this, we're about to be able to play it again in HD here very soon with Skyward Sword HD coming out this summer. But man, when you play this, and if you're playing it for the first time, I'm warning you, it is going to make your heart race, no doubt, and definitely give you goosebumps while you're playing it. There's just a thing of something chasing you and trying to kill you immediately after you mess up. It just unbeat. Number 2, we have Wall Masters and Floor Masters from the Legend of Zelda series. These things scare me the most because they are just so unexpected. I think that's what makes an enemy very scary, is not only their appearance, but how they come to fight you, is out of nowhere. You're not really expecting them even when you are expecting them. Navi actually gives you a hint that they're going to come attack you. Some type of shadow monster is coming in Ocarina of Time's Forest Temple, but you really don't know what to look out for. This is again one of those enemies, the first time you encounter them is terrifying, and it will never be the same as that first time, because with this message, you're now on edge. Everything that you look at, you're looking for anything to pop out of the corner or anywhere else. Your last thing you're probably going to expect is something to come off of the ceiling and grab you and take you to the beginning of the dungeon with an eerie sound, and that's exactly what happens. The shadow below Link's feet starts to get bigger and bigger, and you might not even notice it the first time, and you'll hear eerie music as if something's dropping on you, and last second, boom, the hand will hit the floor. I used to seriously be unbelievably freaked out by this level, and I hated this temple for this reason and this reason only. You can imagine how I felt when I had to go into the well. And coming in at number 1, of course, you guys probably expected this, Dead Hand. Not only is this the creepiest area, I think, in any Zelda game ever, but this is definitely the creepiest enemy within any Nintendo game ever. These things are terrifying, and they hide under the ground. So yes, you have that surprise factor, you have that creepy look factor, and you have that danger factor of how they're going to hurt you. And they grab you first off by one of their 4 arms surrounding the room. When the arm grabs you by its clawed hands, here comes out of nowhere this cloaked figure covered in drops of blood. You don't know why, who it is, what's going on, what's happening, but it's slowly getting towards you. The long neck will slowly drop and the head will come towards you as if it's going to bite you right in the face, and it is the most terrifying thing in the world when you're actually playing this game for the first time. You can fight this thing, yes, but in order to even summon it, you have to let the hands grab you. Everything about this enemy is just gross, disgusting, creepy, eerie, everything. Whoever came up with this at Nintendo seriously needs to be checked out by a doctor. And those are my top 30 scariest Nintendo enemies. Once again, guys, this is just my scary enemies list. I'm sure you guys have more scary enemies that I didn't even think about. If you do have more, put them in the comments down below, or tell me which one from this list would you say is the number 1 scariest Nintendo enemy. Thank you guys again so much for watching the entire video and watching all the way to the end. Make sure that you liked the video if you enjoyed. This was actually a lot of work, but a lot of fun to make. And if you really enjoyed, like the video so that way maybe I can make a boss list next time of the scariest Nintendo bosses, which I already have a whole bunch that I want to put on that list. So this was really fun. Thank you again so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys all on the next one. E3 is coming soon. Time to get hype. See you guys then.